Welcome everyone. Today we are going to master the academic talk listening task by breaking down a lecture on ocean systems and analyzing how to spot the correct answers through logic and evidence. Let's sharpen our ears and dive into this university-level discussion together. If you want to keep improving your score, be sure to subscribe to myTOEFL for more expert breakdowns. Let's stay focused and continue our learning journey together. Listen carefully to the professor's main topic, definitions, and the specific challenges mentioned regarding data collection. Focus on the cause and effect relationships within the natural process described.
Listen to a talk in an oceanography class.
Today we're going to discuss the concept of thermohaline circulation, often referred to as the Global Conveyor Belt. This is a massive system of deep ocean currents driven primarily by differences in water density, which is determined by temperature and salinity. While surface currents are moved by wind, these deeper currents rely on the physical properties of water itself. The process begins in cold regions like the North Atlantic. When seawater freezes into ice, it leaves behind salt, making the surrounding water much saltier and denser. This cold, salty water then sinks to the ocean floor, creating a downward force that pushes the current toward the equator. As it travels, this water slowly warms up and eventually rises back to the surface in the Pacific or Indian Oceans through a process called upwelling. A notable finding is that a single drop of water can take over 1,000 years to complete this entire global loop. The primary implication of this circulation is its role in distributing nutrients across the entire planet, supporting diverse marine life in the deep sea. However, a significant limitation in studying this system is the extreme difficulty of collecting long-term data from the deep ocean. Traditional sensors are often crushed by the immense pressure or run out of battery power before they can capture significant trends. Furthermore, because the current moves so slowly, it is difficult for researchers to distinguish between natural fluctuations and permanent shifts in current patterns. Despite these challenges, understanding this underwater river is crucial for mapping the biological and physical networks of our oceans.
Listen to a talk in an oceanography class. Knowing this is an oceanography class prepares you to hear scientific terms related to seawater, currents, and marine environments. Professor. Since the speaker is a professor, expect a structured lecture that introduces a concept followed by detailed explanations and examples. Today we're going to discuss the concept of thermohaline circulation, often referred to as the Global Conveyor Belt. The professor introduces the core topic, thermohaline circulation, and uses the more common name Global Conveyor Belt to establish a visual mental model for the students. This is a massive system of deep ocean currents driven primarily by differences in water density, which is determined by temperature and salinity. Here, the speaker defines the technical components of the system, explaining that water density is the engine, which is specifically controlled by temperature and salinity. While surface currents are moved by wind, these deeper currents rely on the physical properties of water itself. By using the transition word while, the professor creates a clear contrast between wind-driven surface currents and these deep currents that depend on the physical properties of water. The process begins in cold regions like the North Atlantic. The professor begins a step-by-step description of the cycle, pinpointing cold regions such as the North Atlantic as the starting point. When seawater freezes into ice, it leaves behind salt, making the surrounding water much saltier and denser. In this sentence, the professor explains a key chemical change. As ice forms, it leaves behind salt, which directly results in water that is saltier and denser. This cold, salty water then sinks to the ocean floor, creating a downward force that pushes the current toward the equator. The professor describes the physical movement where this water sinks to the ocean floor, noting that this creates the downward force necessary to move the current. As it travels, this water slowly warms up and eventually rises back to the surface in the Pacific or Indian Oceans through a process called upwelling. This sentence tracks the continuation of the loop, introducing the term upwelling to describe how the water eventually rises back to the surface. A notable finding is that a single drop of water can take over 1,000 years to complete this entire global loop. To emphasize the scale of the system, the professor highlights a notable finding regarding the extreme time it takes for a single drop to finish the circuit. The primary implication of this circulation is its role in distributing nutrients across the entire planet, supporting diverse marine life in the deep sea. The professor shifts to the ecological impact, stating that the primary implication is the vital role the current plays in distributing nutrients globally. However, a significant limitation in studying this system is the extreme difficulty of collecting long-term data from the deep ocean. The professor introduces a pivot using however to discuss a significant limitation, specifically the extreme difficulty of gathering information from the deep sea. Traditional sensors are often crushed by the immense pressure or run out of battery power before they can capture significant trends. The lecture provides concrete examples of technical failure, where sensors are crushed by the immense pressure or simply run out of battery power. Furthermore, because the current moves so slowly, it is difficult for researchers to distinguish between natural fluctuations and permanent shifts in current patterns. Using furthermore, the professor adds another layer of difficulty, explaining that the slow pace makes it hard to identify permanent shifts versus temporary changes. Despite these challenges, understanding this underwater river is crucial for mapping the biological and physical networks of our oceans. The professor concludes by reaffirming the importance of the topic, calling the current an underwater river that is crucial for mapping ocean networks. What is the primary purpose of the talk? This primary purpose question asks us to summarize the entire talk. We need to find an answer that covers both the explanation of the current and the research issues mentioned at the end. Let's analyze option A. To discuss the history of commercial shipping routes in the Atlantic. This option focuses on commercial shipping routes, but the professor never mentions human trade or history, focusing only on natural deep ocean currents. We can eliminate this. Now let's check what option B suggests. To argue that surface winds are more important than density. This choice claims surface winds are more important, but the lecture states that while surface currents use wind, deep currents rely on the physical properties like density. This is a reversal of the facts. Here is option C. Let's see if it fits. To explain why salt is becoming more abundant in the Pacific. The option mentions salt, which is a real detail, but the top doesn't argue it's becoming more abundant in a specific ocean. Salt is just part of the density mechanism. This is a distractor. Finally, let's evaluate option D. To describe the mechanics and challenges of studying deep ocean currents. This is a perfect summary because it includes both the mechanics of the circulation and the challenges like equipment being crushed. It covers the whole lecture. Therefore, the correct choice is option D, because it balances the scientific explanation with the research difficulties mentioned by the professor. According to the professor, what causes water in the North Atlantic to sink? This question focuses on a specific cause and effect relationship. We need to find the exact reason the professor gave for what causes water to sink in the North Atlantic. Let's analyze option A. The physical force of strong winds blowing toward the equator. The professor explicitly stated that surface currents are moved by strong winds, but deep currents are different. This option applies the wrong mechanism to the sinking process. Now, let's check what option B suggests. The increase in salt concentration as seawater freezes into ice. This matches the lecture perfectly. When water freezes, it leaves behind salt, which increases the salt concentration and makes the water heavy enough to sink. Here is option C. Let's see if it fits. The decrease in density as the water reaches the ocean floor. Sinking is caused by an increase in density, not a decrease in density. This option contradicts the basic physics of the global conveyor belt described. Finally, let's evaluate option D. The presence of volcanic activity warming the deep sea floor. There is no mention of volcanic activity in the lecture. This is an irrelevant distractor that was not part of the professor's explanation. The most accurate answer is option B, since the professor specifically links the sinking to the water becoming saltier and denser after freezing. What can be inferred about deep-sea research sensors? This question asks what can be inferred, which means we must find a logical conclusion about deep-sea research sensors based on the limitations the professor described. Let's analyze option A. They have successfully mapped every water drop in the Indian Ocean. The professor says it's difficult to collect data, so it is logically impossible that they have mapped every water drop. This is an overstatement that contradicts the extreme difficulty mentioned. Now let's check what option B suggests. They are primarily powered by the movement of surface wind currents. The lecture mentions sensors run out of battery power, not that they are powered by wind. This option incorrectly mixes two different parts of the talk. Here is option C. Let's see if it fits. They are cheaper to produce than sensors used on the surface. There is no information regarding the cost of the sensors or whether they are cheaper than others. We should eliminate this due to lack of evidence. Finally, let's evaluate option D. They often fail due to the extreme physical conditions of the deep sea. This is a strong inference. Because the professor said sensors are crushed and run out of battery, we can conclude they often fail due to the harsh environment. The most accurate answer is option D, since it directly reflects the extreme difficulty and physical destruction of equipment described in the final paragraph. N. Why does the professor mention that a drop of water takes 1,000 years? This question asks for the rhetorical purpose of the 1,000 years detail. We need to identify what the professor is trying to illustrate by using this specific time frame. Let's analyze option A. To explain why water in the Pacific is older than Atlantic water. Or 2. While the Pacific is mentioned, the professor does not compare the age of the water between oceans. The time figure refers to the entire global loop, not a comparison. Now let's check what option B suggests. To argue that marine life cannot survive such long journeys. This contradicts the lecture, which states the current is responsible for supporting diverse marine life. The long journey is a benefit for nutrient distribution, not a death sentence. Here is option C. Let's see if it fits. To show that ocean currents have stopped moving in modern times. The professor never suggests the currents have stopped moving. In fact, the lecture describes them as a continuous global conveyor belt. Finally, let's evaluate option D. To illustrate the slow speed and vast scale of the current. This is the correct interpretation. The 1,000 years figure serves to illustrate the slow speed and the massive vast scale of the ocean circulation system. Therefore, the correct choice is option D, because the 1,000-year time frame emphasizes how slowly the current moves across the entire planet. To succeed in TOEFL listening, always listen for structural cues like however or furthermore, as they signal new details or limitations that often appear in questions. Remember to link specific scientific processes to the professor's main examples to find the most logical answer.